I'm joined now by Daoud Kuttab. He's the Vice Chair of the International Press Institute and a Middle East analyst. Good to have you with us. There are now calls for an independent investigation into the bombing of Al-Jalaa Tower. Do you agree that Israel should be made to justify its attack?
Well, this is not the first time that Israel has attacked media outlets, especially in Gaza. And a few years ago, the International Press Institute, I was involved in a delegation that visited Gaza and also met with Israelis. And it was clear that the attacks were unprovoked and there was no reason or motivation to attack the media except to make it quiet what the media is doing. So yes, we are quite unhappy and worried that the Israelis are targeting media outlets that have nothing to do with the conflict. They're only covering the conflict.
Does it make a difference that Israel says there was a Hamas office in that tower and it gave people enough time to evacuate? Does that make any difference?
No, it doesn't make a difference. First of all, there were no Hamas offices, including what you just showed by the U.S. Secretary of State, Blinken, saying he didn't know about that. So that fact doesn't exist. Plus, giving people a chance to leave their offices half an hour before and then destroying it is a collective punishment that makes no sense. So, no, it is not a justifiable reason, and it didn't exist. There is no claim, there is no proof that there is anything to do with the Hamas in that building. This has been a repeated effort by Israel to quiet the public attention that it's getting for what it's doing. So this was not the first time. Every time there is an attack on Gaza, they always have to go after the media outlets.
Right, and how important is it that the world, the wider world at large, knows exactly what's going on inside Gaza? How does that put pressure on Israel to end the bombing? How does that put pressure on the international community to try and end the violence?
Well, the journalist's job is to inform. It's the public's decision what they do with that information. We are not involved in advocating for anything as journalists. Our main mission is to tell the truth. We want the truth to be known. We want people to know what is happening. And then they can determine, their politicians can determine, the public can determine what they want to do with this information. But our job is to inform and give them the accurate and unbiased information of what is happening.
You've reported on several conflicts involving Israel airstrikes against Gaza over the years. Where do you see this going? I mean, Israel is currently ramping up its air attacks, its airstrikes against Gaza. Will it come to a point where the public condemnation will be so huge that Israel will then agree to talk about a ceasefire?
Well, the problem here is that this war is senseless. The Israelis are not trying to gain territory or defend territory. They're after something that is really very senseless. They're trying to create the deterrence, this idea of strategic deterrence, that if they can hurt Palestinians so hard that they would think twice before attacking them. That is not a policy. That's actually a war crime, because if it's collective punishment, as we've seen in the attack on the journalists, as we've seen in the killing of many innocent people. We're involved now, we're talking about war crimes, and the Israelis are committing war crimes. The prosecutor at the ICC said she's investigating war crimes in this particular round of attacks. So I think the Israelis are overstepping their boundaries. They're overdoing and they're exaggerating their use of force, and that is a crime of war.
Daoud Kuttab, thank you very much indeed for speaking with us.